A new year filled with more AIL rugby for us all to enjoy. The coverage kicks off with a huge game here on the Lansdowne Road back pitch. Third hosting second in the table. 3 points separate them. It's Lansdowne against St Mary's College. Doesn't get much bigger. Declan Fassbender's men had the upper hand when the sides met before the Christmas break in what was somewhat of a strange contest. 14-0 the final score. A James Tarrant and Greg McGrath try making the difference. A big crowd building here on the Lansdowne Road back pitch. Plenty of people at the pre-match dinner as well. Now we'll go through the teams. In the front row for Lansdowne, George Morris, Bobby Sheehan and the informed Greg McGrath, who has found himself on the score sheet in their last 2 games. Rory Clark and Juan Beakis are in the engine room, supported by a sturdy back row of Matt Healy, Ross O'Neill and Barry Fitzpatrick. James Kenny slots into the scrum half position beside the reliable James Tarrant. Andy Marks is the heartbeat of the Lansdowne attack in the centre, and Leinster's Hugo McLaughlin starts at 15 again. Mark McHugh knows his opponents very well, a club where he enjoyed some success. Switzerland international Jack Nelson Murray starts at hooker, alongside the rock of the team, tight head Mick McCormack. Greg Jones and Daniel Lean make for an athletic second row, and in the back row it consists of New Zealander James Giblett, Corkman Finberg and club legend Ronan Waters. Rob Gilsonen and captain Conor Dean are in the halfbacks. Centre Mick O'Gara is the AIL's top point scorer this season on 96 points. He's in the centre, and watch out for the flyer, Aaron O'Sullivan on the wing. When these sides met last year on the Lansdowne pitch, Mary's came out 32-26 winners. They'll be hoping for the same today. And today, we will be observing a minute's silence for Mark McCormack, who sadly and unexpectedly passed away during the Christmas. It doesn't get much bigger. Friday Night Lights. Third against second. Second half of the season. It starts now. Clontarf are top of the table. Lansdowne in third. Mary's in second between them. Just waiting for the teams to come out here. And this stream brought to you by BF Sports Analysis, as always. A great team behind us here. Bringing you games all across the country. As I said, it was a strange game before Christmas. 14-0 the score. Low scoring. Marys didn't even get on the board. As we wait for the teams to come in. Mark McHugh won a Bateman Cup as a Lansdowne coach, but now he's doing wonderful things for St Mary's. Brought them back to the promised land, 1A rugby 2 seasons ago when they won the 1B title. And now they're flying high in second place on the AIL table. And here come Mary's, led by their captain, Conor Dean. Hear the Mary's roar. And here come Lansdowne, led by their captain Andy Marks. Both teams itching for the win. And we'll observe that 1 minute silence now for Mark McCormick, who sadly passed away during the Christmas break. Played for Mary's School and Club. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family. Once again, our thoughts and prayers are with the family. Rest in peace, Mark. Robbie Jenkinson, the man in the middle today. Mary's to the left of your screen, Lansdowne to the right. 2026 rugby, it's about to get going. Connor Dean will get us underway. AIL in the year of 2026 has begun. And straight from the kick-off, Mary's attack, they get straight on that ball. Nelson Murray. Mary's on the front foot straight away. O'Gara, top point scorer in the AIL this season. Always looking for work. Giblet. Mary's coming around the corner at pace. Dean pulls it back. O'Gara to Moyles Carey. Mary's go through the forwards. Finn Burke loses a bit of ground. Dean goes to the skies. Well covered. But Hugo McLaughlin takes the mark. But a good start from St. Mary's, straight from the off. McLaughlin fails to make touch. Connor Dean sticks it high into the night sky. But McLaughlin, safe as you like. Lansdowne might be getting set up for an exit. Tarrant looks for touch. That one hung up in the air and lands on the Mary side. Gilson under a bit of pressure. Lansdowne win it back. Tarrant. Lansdowne have numbers here, but they kick it forward. Here comes the chase. O'Sullivan back there to sweep it up. Lansdowne coming strong with the counter ruck, but Mary still have the ball. Gilson just getting sorted, getting everything in order. They have to be smart here, Marys. Gilshanan goes for the box kick and puts it off the park. And we almost were without a screen there. The ball nearly took our heads off, but thankfully we're still going. But Lansdowne will have to throw in at the line out. Bobby Sheehan, 5 tries this season, the hooker. His brother Dan involved with Leinster tomorrow against La Rochelle in what should be a huge game on the Aviva Stadium main pitch. Lansdowne 6 wins, 3 defeats in their 9 games this season in the AIL. St Mary's 7 wins, 2 defeats. Mary's only defeats coming against Town 14-12 in round 6 and Lansdowne 14-0 in the last round. Well taken at the line out. Bobby Sheehan at the back. So familiar. Slowly going forward. Working their way into that 22. Kenny takes it out. He's dealt with. Matt Healy did well not to get isolated. Mary's coming up fast, making the big hits. And McCormack, the rock, straight in his face. Andy Marks runs into traffic. Lansdowne losing traction. Morris. Lansdowne running out of options. Aggressive defence from Mary's. Tarrant has to get rid of it. And the fullback was underneath that one, Kilgallen, and taken out in the air in the process. So it's a penalty to St Mary's. But St Mary's will be happy enough with that defensive set. Lansdowne weren't going anywhere. Static rugby, side to side. And Mary's milked the penalty. Jack Nelson Murray made his debut for Switzerland last season in the Rugby Europe Championship. So an international in his own right. That's a clean line out. Dean, soft hands, and Aaron O'Sullivan goes through the gap. But Conor Dean, he's so good. Here's the fullback, Kilgallen. Lansdowne try and slow down that ball. Nelson Murray. Screens of offside. Robbie Jenkinson isn't budging. Lansdowne coming through. And Jenkinson says fair enough. Lansdowne kick along. O'Sullivan watching it. Plenty of time. He swings the boot at it. Now Hugo McLaughlin will run it back. McLaughlin's still going. But the touchline saves Mary's. But Lansdowne will have the throw in at the line out. Conor Dean put O'Sullivan through the gap. Mary's looked like they were rolling, but Lansdowne competed and they won the ball back on the counter ruck. Healy, the target of choice. Lansdowne, stick to basics. Sheehan, off the back, out the back door. Lucas, the big South African. But Mary's come through, illegally so. And Lean told to come back here by Robbie Jenkinson. And Lansdowne have a penalty in a tasty position. They're going to go to the corner. They're only looking for one thing. This is Bobby Sheehan's bread and butter. But we have to find his target. First job. Beatrice takes it down. Sheehan at the back. Slowly. Kenny might have to use it here. Mary's trying to get in and disrupt. Hugo McLaughlin. Lansdowne. They're on the edge. They go through the forwards. They spread it. Andy Marks. But the pass can't find Killian Redmond. But we're going back for the penalty. Mary's good defensive set on that maul, but they conceded a penalty. So Lansdowne will have another bite at the cherry. Same again. First time, really? Is the man doing this? Sheehan at the back. Can he score this time? They come around the corner. And they get a penalty try. Their hard work pays off. And Lansdowne go into the lead. Sheehan at the back. And with that comes a full 7 points for Lansdowne. An added bonus of a penalty try. No conversion needed. 7-0 the score. Well taken from the restart. Beatrice. Mary's apply some pressure. Beatrice again, ever involved in the early going. Tarrant sends it long. And Butterfingers from Kilgallen. And Lansdowne will have to put in at the scrum. And at the minute, things going the way of Lansdowne. But there's a long way to go. Lansdowne were only beaten in 3 games themselves in the first half of the season. Clontarf away, and then twice at home against Terranure and UCD. Such a competitive division. Town Hill hosting Belvedere tomorrow. Cork Corn against UCD as well. Plenty of games across the country in all 5 divisions. Kenny, everything's right. Lansdowne may be looking for a penalty, but we'll have to go again. I heard from a reliable source during the week that tight head Mick McCormack is the rock of this team, this Mary's team. He's the stabiliser. Everything good starts with him. And scrum half Gilsonen looks to have gone to the bin as well, as number 11 is standing in at scrum half. But this time Mary's put on the screens and it's a Mary's penalty. And Mick McCormack gets the plaudits. And Mick O'Gara fancies this one. Mick O'Gara, 96 points so far this season. But that one is short. Kilgallen has the opportunity to run it back. But it goes straight out on the full. And a costly error from Mary's and Steve Kilgallen. Lansdowne with the line out, just short of halfway. Tarrant marks, lovely hands. And here come Lansdowne. Lansdowne, hungry for more. Tarrant. Plenty of options. Tarrant takes it on himself, but he gives it to Kenny now. That's a solid hit. Kenny, or Tarrant, I should say, acting as scrum half. Lansdowne have lost a little bit of momentum now. Forced to go to the kick. But it's a contestable. And Beakus has done well to get underneath that one. McGrath. Tarrant. Lansdowne spread it wide. McLaughlin. And Marks on the wing. But the touchline stops him in his tracks. But that's better from Lansdowne. They're trying to put the ball to width. Lansdowne, plenty of attacking options in that back line. Andy marks 5 tries this season. Nelson Murray, solid throw. Ramirez puts it up into the sky. Any scrum half would have been proud of that. But Lansdowne have the throw in. Good throw. Tarrant. Lansdowne struggling to get quick ball. Mary's making things difficult. Morris goes to ground before contact. Too slow from Lansdowne. Tarrant looks for some room. Puts it over the shoulder of O'Sullivan. Kilgallen to O'Sullivan. Mary's progressing down that left flank. Looks like a bit of an injury on the left side. Not 100% sure who's down there. But the referee Jenkinson just having a little word with the two captains. Andy Marks and Conor Dean. A fiery affair, this one always. Two passionate rugby clubs eager to get the bragging rights. And Mary's have the penalty. Conor Dean will send this one down the tracks. Conor Dean recently got over 100 caps for his club. Arguably one of the best players in the AIL or the amateur game is Conor Dean, former Irish under-20 Connacht Academy, and of course the son of former Irish international Paul Dean. Marys do their job at the line-out. Ramirez still in a scrum half with Rob Gilson in the bin. O'Gara tips it on. Here's Waters. Always offers a threat, does the big number 8 Burke. They're sucking diesel now, our Marys. Here's Lean, the young man. Penalty advantage, hands on the ground. And Mary see an open gate. They almost squeeze through. A new advantage and another penalty for Marys. But that's 2 in quick succession. Jenkinson might just have a little word with the Lansdowne captain again. Discipline becoming an issue in that last play. Too nice to turn down for Mick O'Gara. Straight out in front. Mick O'Gara went to school in Presbury. Was one of the shining lights in their school for many years. A school that has produced many professionals in recent times, none more so than Josh Kenny, who lines out for Leinster tomorrow in the Champions Cup. And O'Gara opens the Mary's account. On the verge of 100 points is the Wicklow man. 7-3 the score. A penalty try for Lansdowne and 3 points from the boot of Mick O'Gara for Mary's. The last game here on the Lansdowne back pitch was a crazy one. 43-38 was the final score. UCD came out on top. And again, restart issues from either side, and Lansdowne pounce. Tarrant knocks one in behind. O'Sullivan under a bit of pressure, but he does really well. Runs crossways, but Lansdowne track him and they drag him down. 1-2 and get rid of it might be the plan for Mary's. Gilsonan back in now. And Gilsonan puts it into touch. Gilsonan, a third generation St. Mary's player from his family. The Gilsonans, a rich tradition with the Mary's blue. Another solid line out from Lansdowne, but no one there to receive it. And Mary's, they're all over that. Surely a penalty, but referee says no. Mary's will feel a bit aggrieved about that one, but Tarrant knocks it in behind again. A clever ball. And it's bouncing everywhere. But Mary's have tidied it up for the moment. Conor Dean steps his way out of a phone box. And a lovely offload in the process. Helter-skelter stuff at the moment. Here's Galvin, the former Sevens player. Tarrant. It's all coming left. Barry Fitz. Such a hard man to put down is the big number 8. But Mary's coming up fast out of the line. And it's a knock on, but all coming from the Mary's pressure. And you can just feel the temperature. It's turning up a little bit here. The battle at the breakdown is ferocious. The line speed is intense. And it's nothing less than what you would expect from a game of this quality. Two of the best sides in Irish club rugby going toe to toe. A loud crowd on both sides. The Mary's blue, the Lansdowne locals. A proper rugby match. And a great way to start your rugby weekend. Solid from Mary's. Gilsonan. Dean wants touch, but it's out in the full, and a rare mistake from Conor Dean. You don't see that very often. And Lansdowne get possession straight back. Unforced errors at the minute, costing Marys. Prohibiting their progress. Kiss again. Barry Fitzpatrick comes into the line. Again, Mary's alive in defence, eager to make the hits. And that's a block. But Lansdowne get lucky with the bounce. Plenty of time here for Conor Dean. And into touch it goes. It was Miles Carey actually who kicked that ball. My apologies. But Lansdowne still where they'd want to be. Bobby Sheehan joined Lansdowne at the start of the season from UCD. Lansdowne have had good lineouts today. Miles Carey, like a ballet dancer in the air there, took it with such confidence. And it's Ramirez, the Italian, so tricky, so hard to stop. That's bouncing, but it goes into touch. Leandro Ramirez looked like he broke free on the wing. But now it's Lansdowne that have a bit of work to do, a bit of defending. They have the throw in at the line out. But they have to get themselves out of trouble here. Great to see such a big crowd at this game today. I always say it every week, but the AIL is the best league in the world. Where would you rather be? What would you rather be watching? Just a little break in play. And play will resume now. How Lansdowne would love to do the double over Marys this season. One win apiece last season. Kenny goes down the short side and a high tackle, and Lansdowne have the penalty. And again, Mary's just offering Lansdowne an easy exit, a get out of jail free card, and that will be frustrating for Mark McHugh. And Tarrant clears the lines. The Lansdowne forwards slow to get to their workstation. Beatrice again, reliable. Bobby Sheehan. Kenny Sticks one up. Who's going to be underneath this one? O'Sullivan couldn't take it cleanly, and it goes into touch. But a smart contestable there from James Kenny. A real tester. Had a swirl on it. Did the rugby ball. And Aaron O'Sullivan couldn't take care of it. And he drops the ball, and Lansdowne with the scrum. Next week, Lansdowne go to UCD, or in 2 weeks' time, I should say. There's a break week next week. Scrum looks stumpy. There's one gentleman here tonight, and he should be on the coaching setup. He's very passionate. Every play, he's telling Lansdowne what they should be doing. That's what you love about the AIL. Passionate fans everywhere you look. No urgency. Kenny waits, feeds. Mary's put on the squeeze, and Mary's flexed the muscles. It's another penalty at the scrum. And Mary seem to have the upper hand at scrum time. Lansdowne struggling at the moment. Of course, they're without Jerry Kerr, who's part of the Leinster squad for tomorrow's game against La Rochelle. Would usually be in that front row for them. But Mary's doing a solid job. Nelson Murphy goes long, and he hits the target. This is looking promising for St. Mary's. They're motoring forward. Nelson Murray might look to use it now. He calls in a scrum half. Will one. Connor Dean, lovely hands. But Lansdowne make their tackle. And here comes the counter hook. Mary's do well to get it away. And Lansdowne forced the knock on. Straight in their faces. But it all came from that tackle out wide. Stopping Mary's in their tracks. Great defensive effort from both sides tonight so far. And of course, some great players played for both sides. Sam Prendergast, the current Irish out half, of course, played a little bit of rugby in Lansdowne. And of course, look no further than Johnny Sexton when you think of St. Mary's. Both sides have produced some quality players. Even in the front row, that could have been involved tonight if they didn't have other engagements. Andrew Sparrow for St. Mary's, Jerry Kerr for Lansdowne. Plenty of quality. Nothing less than what you would expect from two high-flying South Dublin clubs. Kenny serves it up. That's better from Lansdowne. Steady. Fitzpatrick off the back. Bobby Sheehan doesn't get much purchase that time. Kenny slows it down. You know what's coming. That's a long one, not really contestable, but Ramirez struggles underneath that one.
I get what it was.
Both sides struggling to get their attack firing at the moment. Very much a kicking battle. All about the percentages. And Lansdowne knock on. The Marys go through. But Daniel Lean is told, come back. He thought he was away, but the referee Jenkinson had blown his whistle. And Lean's plans of a try are crushed. Looks like an injury for Lansdowne. We'll try and figure out who that is for you in a second. It's been an edgy game so far. All about the percentages.
Oh my god, that's more in that case. Ha ha ha. Yeah. Okay. Good morning.
Tell you what. Resume. And Lansdowne put it into the corner. Probably about 8 or so minutes left. Or not even, sorry. Probably about 5 minutes if even left in this first half. Clark takes that one, but Marys have stolen it. Wilson sets it up, but it's blocked down by Matt Healy, but he was over eager. And Connor Dean will send this one away. Marys go to the mall. They'd love a score before the halftime break. They have an advantage. Free play. Lansdowne again, getting in their faces, not giving them room to breathe, but they had a penalty to go back to. And Connor Dean will kick this further down the line. And he gets his team closer, just past the 22. This would be a huge score if Marys could get over just before the halftime break. Will the momentum swing? But Lansdowne get it, but not to worry for St. Mary's. But as I say that, there was a knock on, and we come back for the scrum, or no, we won't. 7-3 the score. Another low scoring affair so far between these two sides. A team of the first 120 minutes between them this season. 7-3 the score. Lansdowne with a penalty try. Mick O'Gara with Mary's only penalty. Only 4 points between the sides. Plenty of rugby to be played in the second half. We'll be back with you shortly to go again. And we're back for the second half. 7-3 the score. Lansdowne with a penalty try. Tarrant sticks it up and we're off for the second half. But again, Lansdowne contest the restart. Messy ball. McCormick does well. He twirls to tidy up possession. But Lansdowne coming up off the line quickly. But we're coming back for the knock on. It's been an interesting theme of this game so far. Both teams applying pressure on the restarts. Only 14 points were scored in the first game between these clubs before Christmas, and only 10 so far today. A battle of the defences so far. Not a lot of attacking rugby. Marys did seem to hold the trump card at the scrum in that first half. Will it continue in the second? Lansdowne better that time. Connor Dean, lovely flat pass to the line to Miles Carey. They get it out to the wing. O'Sullivan hasn't had much ball in the game so far. Marys need to keep up this tempo. But there's an injury. And Robbie Jenkinson calls a halt to the play. Player safety, the most important thing. An attritional game. Marys, they've had quite the rise. Just 2 seasons ago, they were in 1B of the AIL. They won it at a breeze. And since then, they've been right up near the top of the 1A table, beating semi-finalists last season against the eventual champions Clontarf. They look on track to make the semi-finals again this year. Huge credit has to go to Mark McHugh and his coaching team. And it looks like the Lansdowne player is being forced off. Looks like Ross O'Neill, potentially, who's left us. We hope he makes a speedy recovery. Gilsonen received the yellow card in the first half as a consequence of that penalty try. Dean again, soft hands, but Lansdowne were ready. Marys need quick ball. But again, an unforced error and just simple mistakes from St. Mary's today, costing them. They just haven't really got going. Maybe we should be giving credit to the Lansdowne line speed and the pressure they're putting under Mary's. Or putting Mary's under, I should say. Not a night for the back line so far. The crowd still here, sticking with the cold weather. But these are proper rugby fans. They love the AIL. Out in numbers, out in force. Lansdowne can really build from this set piece. Kenny looks to snipe, but St. Mary's closed down all options. Again, slow ball. Not a lot to work with. Tarrant puts one up. Both teams playing a bit of kicking tennis. Connor Dean teases a kick, runs into a bit of trouble. It's Connor Dean that time. Mary's win a strong chase, and they get the penalty as the reward. A clever kick from Connor Dean. Plenty of air on the ball. Mary's arrived in numbers. And Mary's haven't been able to capitalise from these sort of positions so far in this game. But are things about to change? The line out sets the stage. Gilson thinking about what to do. Mary's still going forward. McCormick finds a scrum half. They're just short. They come again. And Mary's get the try. And that's what they needed. That's what they wanted. And Nick McCormick, Gilson thinking about what was crucial in the build-up. And he was on the end to score the try. Mick McCormick, the cornerstone of this team, produces the try and catapults his team into the lead. Their first red zone entry of the second half, and Mary's get the score, they get the try. And over the conversion goes. 10-7 the score. 10-7 the score, and for the first time in this contest, Marys are in the lead. Lansdowne come up fast again at the restart. And they cough up the knock on. And that conversion brings Mick O'Gara over the 100-point mark in the AIL for this season. 101 points now for the centre. Top point scorer in the AIL this season. Can Lansdowne find an immediate riposte? We'll have to go again. Tom Barry wearing the number 18 jersey for Lansdowne. Harry does Van Eden, I should say, rather, wearing the number 18 jersey for Lansdowne. What a player to be able to bring on. Kenny, I want to get this in and out quickly. But Lansdowne turned the screw and they get a penalty at the scrum. And there's only one thing on James Tarrant's mind. Into the corner it goes. Didn't get much on that James Tarrant. Just made sure he made touch. Lansdowne scored from this sort of situation in the first half. The line-out gaining traction through them all. But they used the ball. Tarrant to Redmond. He straightens the line, McLaughlin. Lansdowne want to try. And they have a penalty. Marys. Ill discipline at the ruck. And this has an edgy feel about it, this game. A lot riding on it. Lansdowne would love to go into second place on the table. Marys, they just want to get back to winning ways. 7 wins in 9 games. They were top of the table for so long. Tarrant back into the corner. Lansdowne with prime real estate now. Just a delay with this line out. A little bit of messing. Bobby Sheehan throws and the forwards eat. But it's brought down. A good defensive set from Marys. Beatrice. The South African meat. Lansdowne. They want to register a response. Marys need to stay disciplined in defence. Can Lansdowne make the necessary incision? They kick it. Connor Dean didn't have time to turn around. Smash from behind. And Lansdowne are literally on the doorstep. 1 foot in the house. One foot in the house. But will they make a full entry? Sheehan, so clinical from these sort of situations. But Marys, they were all on the ground. They were ready. They were set. And they get the scrum. And Lansdowne maybe were thinking about the try before they even got it there. White line fever cost them. The job isn't done for Marys yet. A real challenge to alleviate the danger. Jack Matthews is there as well. Then they carried on Shannon, man. Marys need an exit. Gilsonen will take on the responsibility. And he gets that away. But Lansdowne still in the 22. Lansdowne, this is their third Friday night game of the season. And it might be a bad omen because their last two Friday night games they've lost against Terranure and UCD. They'll be looking to turn the tide tonight. And get some Friday night fortune. Still exactly where they'd want to be. Asking questions of St. Mary's. Fitzpatrick to the short side through Matthews. Mary's happy to make their first up tackles. Matthews gets back to his feet. Lansdowne call in the back line. But good continuity in this St. Mary's defence. Nobody's creaking. No cracks appearing at the moment. And it's a penalty. And the number 7, Finn Burke, gets the plaudits. And Lansdowne, they were one-dimensional. Never looked like scoring there. And Mary's, they're finally out of their own backyard. And will that be a period of the game that Lansdowne rule. They really should have scored. They really should have put something on the board. But Marys were resolute. And they maintained their lead. Steady. Slowly but surely for Marys. Here comes the chase. And what a kick. Inch perfect. And St. Mary's have really turned the tables from one end to the other. It's Lansdowne who are between a rock and a hard place. Sheehan has to get his dart right. These are the big moments in games. And I often wonder, who does the break and play benefit more? Does it help Bobby Sheehan settle the nerves? Or does it give him a long time to think about one throw? Mary's been up for it, but Lansdowne bring it down. An interference in the air. And a frustrating penalty for Mary's to concede. Tarrant didn't get much on that one. Struggled to work the angle, did James Tarrant. And Marys are still in the 22. I think Lansdowne were complaining about interference in the air again there. But this time Robbie Jenkinson doesn't budge. Ramirez juggles with that one. Luckily it's knocked back. Dean spots some space, executes it perfectly, and puts Lansdowne back on their heels. And game management is key in these sorts of games. Low scoring, tight. And the likes of Connor Dean and Mick O'Gara will play a pivotal role in helping Marys get over the line here. Can they help them see the game out? Matthews. Just puts it into touch. And the clock continues to tick down. A little over 15 minutes left to play here. Here comes the shove. Gilsonen to Dean. Again, flat hands. Ronan Waters. A man possessed. Puts them into the 22. Connor Dean again. Dean throws the dummy. Gets them closer. Gilsonen. St. Mary's are eating up the meters. Here they come. Lansdowne have hands on. And they win the penalty on the ground. And a Mary's try looked imminent there. But Lansdowne stayed on the task. Got their hands in the right place. And win the penalty. Ronan Waters, such a legend for St. Mary's Rugby Club, coaches the Star Inclusivity team on Sundays, former captain as well. Hasn't had many opportunities to go forward tonight, but there he was ready, there he was lively as he worked him into the 22. But Lansdowne go back to the air. Ramirez has struggled under the high ball tonight. Something that Lansdowne have identified early on. But St. Mary's come away with it. Dean brings it to the line again. Always helps them make gain line, does Connor Dean. His crisp offloads always help. Dean over the top. Miles Carey in chase. But Mary's have the penalty. Dean had the advantage. He threw a teaser into the wind. But they'll come back for the penalty. And Connor Dean having a word. Does Mick O'Gara fancy this one? Oh, yes, he does. About 40 metres out, 41 metres out. Fairly central for O'Gara. Of course, he's a cousin of Johnny Sexton. O'Gara with the sweet strike, bringing his personal tally to 104 points in the AIL this season. Top point scorer. And now we have a 6-point game. Tarrant. Loose ball. But Lansdowne concede the penalty. Looked like an unnecessary push, maybe. And Connor Dean, happy enough to kick this forward.
Not wide, okay, just leave.
And Richie Bergen in at hooker now for St. Mary's. Again, Marys are motoring. They peel away. Where's that ball? We're going to come back for a scrum. 2 knock-ons in the mix. Julian Velucci is in for Lansdowne now as well, the Italian prop. And Mary's happy enough to just let the clock run down. (13-7). As mentioned earlier, Mary's did get a victory on this ground last December 2024, 32-26 was the score that day. A lot of attacking rugby. The story a little bit different tonight, but at the moment, the headline the same if things stand. Mary's in the lead, looking for another victory on the Lansdowne back pitch. Gilsonen. Free kick. Lansdowne early on the engage. Connor Dean will kick this long. Who's underneath it? Well taken. And away from Lansdowne, Killian Redmond. Full steam ahead. And now Lansdowne have go forward. They have to make it count. Here they come and chase. Mary's calling for a knock on. And it was spotted by Jenkinson. And Lansdowne playing heads up rugby there. Killian Redmond. Glides in the air, takes the ball, storms away with it. Lansdowne go on the attack, but the last pass not sticking, and a knock on. Edgy atmosphere, nervous fans. Mary's would open up a 6-point gap between them and Lansdowne if they were to win tonight on the current scoreline. Mary's would take 4 points, Lansdowne would take the 1. Gilsonen at his station. Got plenty on that, did Rob Gilsonen. Lansdowne might look to run it back, but Mary's are there in numbers. Matthews not happy with something, and he gets a penalty on request from Robbie Jenkinson. Tarrant brings them past the 10 metre. Still a one-score game. A converted try would be enough for Lansdowne to take the lead. A little under 5 minutes to go according to the stadium clock here. It's now or never for Lansdowne. But a sloppy overthrow and a potential high shot on Ronan Waters goes ignored by Robbie Jenkinson. And Jenkinson gives the penalty to Lansdowne, but Marys will feel like they deserve the penalty of their own there. And Tarrant can go again. Gets them closer, a good bit closer. And Lansdowne handed a gift from Jenkinson. Felici comes to give the instructions. Marys commit to the ground. And the offload doesn't go to hand. And it just bobbles out of the hands of Tom Daly. Marys didn't put anyone up in the air. Lansdowne had to play it. And Tom Daly was coming, storming onto that ball, but he couldn't take it cleanly. And knock on, and Marys get the scrum. Close to their own try line. And can Mary see this one out? For the second year in a row, can they win on the Lansdowne Road back pitch? 6 points last year, 6 points this year. And Marys get the penalty. And again, Lansdowne just gifting them an opportunity to get out. Substitute Aaron O'Neill finds touch. And there's only 2 minutes of time left, according to the stadium clock. A low-scoring game, all about the defence. Not a night for the attack. Can Marys hold on? Lansdowne get up. Sheen goes after it. And Lansdowne have the ball. They need to do something. And here they come. McLaughlin. Can he be the magic man? The time is now for Lansdowne. They need to make meters. Felici, the Italian stallion, always makes meters post-contact. Be a kiss. Lansdowne need quick ball. They need to play with intent. They can't let Marys get set in defence. But Marys making their tackles. ticking the boxes. And Mick O'Gara is penalised. And Andy Marks was taken down. Mick O'Gara. And Andy Marks just taking a little breather, maybe. And Lansdowne will have one last throw of the dice. Just short of a 22. Jack Trainer in at hooker now. Former City of Armagh player. And the crowd is loud. It's gonna, but Lansdowne have it. Or do they? It's Mary's ball. But a knock on. And Lansdowne will have one last chance. Every time Mary's look on the verge of victory, they give Lansdowne one last lifeline. This has to be the last play. 6 points in it. A converted try would be enough for Lansdowne. St. Mary's looking to get back to winning ways. It's now or never. We're into bonus point territory. Lansdowne have to do something different. Their attack hasn't been firing tonight. McLaughlin, well marshalled by Miles Carey, and they come away with it. And St. Mary's, for the second year in a row, have won on the Lansdowne back pitch. But Jenkinson seemed to have blown his whistle. But are we coming back for something? I'm not really sure what's happening here. Seems like the touch judge has called over Robbie Jenkinson. Bit of confusion here. And there is one last play. A penalty on the far side. Obviously, the touch judge spotted something. And now this has to be it. Last chance saloon for Lansdowne. Messy ball. Lansdowne still have. Beatrice from a standing start. McGrath. Sheehan. Can Lansdowne unlock this defence? Daly. A good tackle comes in. Mary's double up. Tarrant teases the offload. Dips into Ronan Waters. Daly with the short pass. Marks. Lansdowne still not in the 22. Tarrant throws caution to the wind. And Mary's cover it. And out it goes. And that's that. For the second year in a row, St. Mary's have won on the Lansdowne Road back pitch. 6 points again. Last season it was 32-26. This season it's 13-7. St. Mary's do the double over Lansdowne back to back. Last year and this year on the Lansdowne back pitch. And Mary's have won. Lansdowne are defeated. The Friday night curse continues. 3 Friday night games, 3 defeats for Lansdowne. But St. Mary's kick off this AIL weekend with a worthy victory. 13-7 the score. And that's all from us tonight.